Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Anonymous, and in this channel, we talk about gang stalking. We talk about manipulation. We talk about dark psychology. What does it really mean to be a targeted individual? What does it entail? What aspect of your life is taking over? And in this channel, I wanna expand on the topic of the psychological prison that typically is caused by the entire thing of gang stalking, for a lack of a better word. So, in the beginning, when the gang stalking is fresh, when it's hard, when it's recent, when you pretty much are passive about the functioning of your mind, where you do not take control of how your mind acts, gang stalkers are the ones who really have control over your mind. Not in a V2K nor in a direct energy weapon type of way, but in a more analog and raw manner, in a way that is mechanical, that is actually done by pretty much manipulating the meaning of things. So let's start with the meaning of bottle. If you have followed this channel, I already told you the story about the whole thing with a bottle. I already told you the story about the whole thing with the color white. I already told you about the whole thing with give me one second, with the shopping cart. Like, the shopping cart is the one that I have told you about the most, because that is the one that was more impactful to me for a very long time. I, however, don't care anymore, but that's exactly what I want to talk to you about. In the beginning, whenever you see a shop, okay, so let's talk about the sniff, actually, the sniffing. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit of background about the sniffing, why it was meaningful. I'm gonna tell you its story about it, and I'm gonna tell you what happens now when I hear it. So when I was at the homeless shelter, I I think my pipe broke. I didn't have a pipe, so I made a line of Tina of amphetamines, of methamphetamines. And well, I did the line, and then my roommate walked in. I had just done the line, right? So the first thing that he did, he was just like, boom, that was the trigger. The thought that came over my head was, he knows that I just did a line. But I mean, this guy was also a user. Like, him and I smoked together, even though he was a gang stalker. When this happened, I didn't have any boundaries. I thought I had boundaries, but I didn't really enforce them. Like, I would, for some reason, try to be amicable to gang stalkers for some freaking reason. Because I was stupid, because I didn't have any friends, because I, for some reason, gave importance. Like, I wanted to get along so bad, even though I knew they wanted to abuse me, which I think is freaking weird now. Like, I guess my self-esteem was low to the ground, and I didn't really value myself. That has totally changed. Like, ugh, whatever, fucking disgusting. And so, well, I that was it. So that was the thing. So the thought that came to my head was that, oh man, he knows that I did a line of crystal meth, of methamphetamines. I'm not sure if saying that word is gonna actually get this video not not monetized, but I might have to re-upload it. I'm not sure, but this is the raw story. So then it was time for me to go to lunch, right? So even though I'm hungry, because I can't use drugs and eat and sleep and everything else, so I went in, right? And guess what? All I heard, everyone in the freaking shelter, in the dining area, everyone was like, everyone. So imagine that there is complete silence, right? And literally everything you hear is just sniffing sounds from everyone. So automatically, that is when I was being sensitized to this. Every time I heard it, when I heard someone going, this is how my thought process was. It was, that person knows that I did a line of crystal meth, and that is shameful. That was my thought process as a targeted individual. That's what gave it power in the first place. So, well, that set that story aside. So that is what. So well, 4 days became something, and it mattered until months later, when when I rationalized the signals, or they just share the signals and they don't really know the background behind it. They don't. So then I disconnected the thought of that person knows that I was doing a line of crystal meth. Like the shame, for some reason, whenever like it was the shame from the first instant, from being caught doing a line of that. Oh, let's call it Tina, whatever, just T. From being caught, like the shame, actually kind of like if that shameful sensation was reproduced, the gang stalkers were able to reproduce it by only making the sniffing sound. Like it tied in the shame to the sniff. So whenever I was around in the street and I would hear, I would immediately thought the shame would be carried away. It would be carried over. So like that sound was kind of like a representation of the shame. Because I thought that when you think that gang stalkers are all connected, you feel that they know everything about you. So therefore, whenever they do that, you think that they pretty much saw what you did. You feel that they saw, that they know the shame that you felt. So therefore, whenever that is made, you get it replicates the shame. Like you feel the shame, you feel the knot on your throat, because whenever you feel like shame, you feel the knot like built up, and like and it's just like a pull. Like now it is, I am more looking at it from an outside perspective, but in the first round of gang stalking, I literally felt a knot on my throat being pulled. Like it was almost like they trained me to pull, to have that sensation of my throat being pulled every time I heard them. It was almost like they trained me like a dog. Like I was sensitized to that. I was conditioned. And every time I heard that, I just felt the shame. So now I was able to disconnect from that, because that's when I began discovering that gang stalkers are only doing things, So like that is when they are obsessively observing you, everyone around you. So, anyways, let me see. Give me a second. So, when that happens, that is what happened. So I was able to disconnect it when I discovered that all the words that they were throwing around, that when I found that if I didn't look for their reaction, whenever they knew I thought that I had, that they had hit a bullseye with the words they mentioned, that they didn't know what was going on because I wasn't turning around. It is when I was discovering everything about it. So because of the disconnect, every time they did the thing, I still felt the pull in my throat, but I didn't feel the shame. And as on the next round, I didn't feel any pull on my throat. I was just a psychological trigger. Like I knew what it was supposed to do. It made me slightly uncomfortable, but there was no physiological reaction on my body. It was only the knowledge that was supposed to be a trigger, but it had no physical manifestation. It had no psychological manifestation of shame. It didn't do anything. Only that I knew what it meant. And now, as time went by, I was able to disconnect completely. And whenever I heard I knew that that the intention of those being things that you would hear everywhere, that I was able to see the triggers in both realities, in the reality of gang stalking where everyone is against you, and in the reality of being a normal part of daily life. So let me tell you, my mind is tired even when it isn't, because whenever I hear any of these triggers, I live it in both realities at the same time. it's insane. So like it's insane to explain, but I see it in the reality that I am supposed to be living when gang stalking is a thing and gang stalking isn't a thing. So I am always connected, but disconnected at the same time. Because I understand gang stalking so well that even though I'm connected, even though I am connected, I can disconnect, and I can actually keep having my thoughts. I can be disconnected and connected at the same time. I don't think there I don't think anyone on that has made any type of documentary of journalism on what gang stalking is has this thing where they're able to see both sides of the coin at the same time. So it is an incredibly difficult thing to explain, but I know what it's supposed to do. I live it. I know what I'm supposed to feel. However, I don't. I decide to ignore it because that's the only thing I can do. So my psychology is forever changed. I guess I can believe it to be a superpower, or I could believe it to be a damage that was done. But I think that my understanding of this has gotten so big that I am living in the two narratives at the same time. That's exactly what it is, actually. I am living in the two narratives. In the narrative of everyone is against me, and in the narrative of no one is against me, where I understand the manipulations. It's crazy because let me tell you, my mind is exhausted from all these crazy understandings of what's going on. I, however, am fine with it. Like it's cool, and it is only because of that I am able to explain to you these two things, right? It is because of that understanding of gang stalking and my ability of living in the gang stalking manipulation world and in the real world at the same time that I can make this channel. And let me tell you, it really is psychologically exhausting. It really is. But I am gonna think of it as a blessing because of it, I can explain to you everything behind the scenes. And I can explain to you the actual psychology. Well, anyways, back to the crux of this video. As time goes by, the symbols that I see, such as a shopping cart, the connection before to the sniffing, the connection was immediate. Boom. It would immediately think of all that person knows. But now when I hear the, is a completely different process. So I heard the sniff, then my mind goes, that person is a gang stalker, or it is just a casual sniffing out of the way. Like I kind of have to see the perspective of both ends at the same time, or one above the other, or one first and then the other. It's random. Immediately after that, I decide, do I want to remember why that was that in the first place? But then it's psychological processing, so I don't process it that way. I'm like, whatever, who cares? But there's times where if I want to be back into the gang stalking and I want to remember why, I have to actively dig through my memories to get to that point in time where I did the sniff of the line of tea. So now it is actually, I have to actively, where before it was something that happened automatically. It was like hearing the sniff, and then I had to, it went immediately to the shame, it went immediately to the pull of the throat, and it went immediately to the memory of when I was caught doing the line. And now I actually have to work if I want to remember that. Like now I hear the sniff, I see the two realities, but there's no psychological connection, there's no connection to the memory. That is just a matter of time for it to pass. So, and to make a long story short, the longer that you are without being, without being exposed to perps, the longer that time is, the less traveled the river of the psychological connection will be. Therefore, when time enough passes by where there has been no activity from the perpetrators, from the gang stalkers, from the psychological manipulators, you are going to it's going to disconnect. And the longer time it passes, the more you're going to be able to sit back into the reality that is truth. So, in reality, the one that has control is you. And you can completely disconnect if you allow enough time to pass before you allow any type of activity or interaction with any type of perpetrator, gang stalker, manipulator. Then your psychology will go back to normal. It will go back to normal if you allow enough time to pass by. Because remember, gang stalking is something that has to have enough, it has to be upkept. It has to be constantly shot at you, day in, day out. But whenever you disconnect from any type of gang stalking activity, whenever you behave in a pretty much in the manner that is mostly sanctified. I'm not religious, and I do not mean to impose any type of religious behavior onto you. But when you do not play in the devil's playground, there is no way for them to access you. They can try, but it is so minimal that it is literally insignificant. Now, so as long as you allow enough time for your perceptions to heal, to go back to the reality that truly is, only then you're gonna be able to heal from gang stalking. So if you are a targeted individual, what you have to do is behave. So spend time on your own. That is why I am living in here again. Because when I was in the shelter, I was surrounded 24/7 by manipulators. And only being here by myself is the only time that I can actually free myself from all of them. Regardless of whatever them might be, perpetrators, manipulators, now it's not important. So it's just spend time by yourself, spend time doing the things that you like, spend time laughing, talking to your friends, and whenever you see a trigger, just know that don't automatically accept it as part of being gang stalking, but look at it and look at it with doubt that you really don't know what they mean. So the way that I saw it yesterday is that, well, so I do not mean to toot my own horn when I say this, but I know that I am eloquent in the way that I speak. I know that I do not speak like trash. I know that I have a high vocabulary, and whenever I and most people don't. Most drug addicts don't. Most gang stalkers don't. In fact, they oftentimes, they mock me for my vocabulary, which I do not care. The mocking, I do not care. But I mean, I am an English major, and of course, I'm gonna have a wide vocabulary, which is why I find it so pleasant to actually make these videos, because it is one of the times where I can actually use my skills in any of my languages that I speak, which is only two. I don't mean to sound like it's 1,000 of them. Well, three, but my third one, I hardly practice it. But maybe I should make more videos in Portuguese, actually, or make videos in Portuguese. That would be really interesting, actually. That would be amazing practice. Now that I think about it. Anyways, so coming back to the point of this channel, of this video, it is that now I I'm not trying to actively see anyone as less, but I would by no doubt say or know that they do not have a command in the English language, even where their primary language can possibly be English. Maybe they have better pronunciation. However, they do not command the vocabulary that I do, and which might make me sound like an asshole. It might make me sound like I'm full of myself, but that's fine because, again, the only perception that I care about is my own and for the people that matter. And gang stalkers are no longer in that arena. They don't. So that what they possibly might think is none of my business. But what you guys think of me is something that I really truly care about. So whenever I say these, I apologize if I sound like an asshole, if I sound like I'm full of myself, stuck up. That is not my intention, but it is the way that I have to see it in order for me to be able to step away from the entire psychological manipulation of gang stalkers. I hope you understand that. So I have to see them as using words that are not there, or that are using words that are there, but they are using them wrong. And a lot of times these words are the trigger words, such as positive, such as starter. Like I have had people outside where that I have no idea who they are, literally just yell like a maniac, starter, outside, like in the street, or just like water, like and they're not even having a conversation with anyone. And and that's hysterical to me. It's like these people are crazy. And there is no way that any person in the right mind would be out in the street just yell like water. You know what I mean? And it's like I've seen it so many times that it's hysterical now. Anyways, so that's the perception that I have to build in my head, that they are crazy people with the lack of command in their primary language, that is English. Anyways, so now I actually have to dig. I have to actively dig for the word to have a meaning. Where in the past I would hear the word and the meaning would be tied immediately. But my understanding of this has grown to be so strong that I have to actively acknowledge what it is supposed to mean or deny it if I want to. So I am here. I'm the one that commands whatever a word means something or not. And that is how it should be to every single target, where the target literally is the one that decides, do I decide for this word or for this action, such as to mean something that is self-deprecating, or that is shameful, or is it just casual, or both? So right now I am at a point where it literally means both. It means both. And the fact that I have that control tells me that, I'm literally living both realities at the same time. It's insane. You can call me crazy, but do I sound like a crazy person? Maybe. But do I behave like one? I do not. Do I speak like a crazy person? No. Maybe what I say is crazy, but only targets will understand. And I am considerably and whether or not you believe that I am speaking nonsense, it's okay, because what I say can or not make sense to you. But that's okay, because I know that this will not make sense for everyone. The people that are supposed to understand it is only going to make sense to them. Such like the Bible or the metaphors that people talk about will not make sense to everyone. It will only make sense to the people who are well versed in that subject. So anyways, that is the end of this video. And so as the longer time that you spend being away from the, from the entire gang stalking, the further away you are from it, the more control you are going to have over your own emotions, over your own perceptions, and the power is given back to you. In my next video, I'm going to talk to you about the actual power that you have and that you might not be aware that you truly have if you are a targeted individual. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.